John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.
That's what we needed to begin. Some of you that are aficionados remember being here in Julia Richmond one night, I think the last time I spoke. And I came out to start to speak, and I was uptight for one reason or another, who knows. And to cover it, I usually have routines. And I started to cover it. And if you remember, somebody up there, after about 3 minutes, yelled, "Ram Dass, my heart hurts." And it cut through my bullshit so fast. It really brought us together, and it started the evening off. And it turned into a beautiful evening. Does anybody remember that? Those of you that have been traveling with me for a long time, you may be surprised at my new costume. I'm chairman of the board of the Seva Foundation, and this is as straight as I could get. This is take it off, it's the same schnook it always was. Oh boy, it's such fun to play all these games. It all seems real for a moment. What I usually do, and I don't assume this will be any different, is share notes of what's been happening. I always talk about myself, it turns out, but those of you that know that it isn't really me, it's us. And I just use myself as a case study that I know better than I know everybody else's case study. Because what awes me is how parallel our journeys are. And how much, when I'm going through something and I think, boy, this is really leading edge stuff, I meet somebody and they say, gee, that's just what's been happening to me. Just to put you at ease with an old familiar story about that one. You recall that story about when in the 70s, when everybody came and they all wore white and smiled a lot, and they were all between 15 and 25? That was who the audience was in those days. And if you remember the story about that in the front row, there was one woman sitting there who was about 70, and she was wearing a hat with little strawberries and cherries on it, artificial. And she was wearing a print dress and black Oxfords, responsible Oxfords, and she had a black patent leather bag. And I thought, she's obviously somebody's relative, because everybody else was very different than she was. So I started to talk for the group, and in those days we all knew. You know, that was in the 60s and 70s, we all knew. And everybody didn't know, but we knew. And many of us knew because we had shared initiation rites, chemical or otherwise, mostly chemical. So I would tell a story about what happened to me, and everybody would nod, and I'd look over and she was nodding. And I thought, how does she know? So I told a further out story, like the last time I was stoned on the beach in Mexico and standing by the ocean, and I lost my body and the thread broke, and she's going like this, you know. And I figure, maybe she's got a neck problem, you know. That's like... And I got absolutely obsessed with what was happening in her consciousness. And so I'd tell far out things and look to see what she was doing. And at the end of the lecture, I kind of looked at her and smiled and smiled. And finally she came up to me and she said, oh, I just want you to know, what you said was just fine. I agreed with everything you said. How did you know? What is it you've done that you can know these things? And she leaned forward very conspiratorially and she said, I crochet. That's when I knew that the game was bigger than I thought it was. And it turns out, if you look at the audience now, it is much more heterogeneous than it was in those days. And we're all gathered, I'm saying the same thing I was saying 20 years ago. And yet, here we all are hearing, and we didn't all come here through any one method. Isn't that far out? Just to think about that. Because in the 60s, we thought there was a method. And here we are in the 80s seeing that it's very overdetermined and that a lot of people are sharing shifts in awareness and are interested in consciousness and spirit for a lot of different reasons.
Beware, aliens, Lewis, Rogue, and the Cosmic Cadet. The Space Avenger is on your case.
Oh. Greetings, Starfighter. You have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada. Get ready? Prepare for blastoff.
Okay, let's go.
Hold it.
There's no fleet, no starfighters, no plan. One ship, you, me, and that's it?
Exactly. Zur thinks you're still on Earth. Classic military strategy. Surprise attack.
It'll be a slaughter!
That's the spirit.
No, my slaughter. One ship against the whole armada?
Yes, one gun star against the Armada. I've always wanted to fight a desperate battle against incredible odds.
Transmitting
Transmission pulsars have stopped, Commander. The last starfighter is dead. The last starfighter is dead. Nothing to stop us now. Ahead full. To right.
The command ship.
There. The turret at the far end.
I see it.
Good luck, Starfighter.
Thanks, Greg. For everything.
6.
Heads-up display. Check.
5.
Lasers. Check.
4.
Particle beam. Check.
3.
Photon bolts. Check.
2.
Chair control. Check.
1.
Let's do it.
Tracking alert.
Unidentified craft. What is it? Wait. Gunstar. So, the last starfighter is dead? This has gone far enough. Seize him!
How dare you? I am the Emperor of Rylos. I and I alone command this entire Release me! I command you! You will pay for this with your lives!
All guns, fire!
There it is! The turret!
Alex, now! Yes!
Got it!
Hurry, Alex! Fire! The Armada's almost around us! The Gunstar has gone from our sensors. Alert wing commanders!
Communication turret is destroyed. All communication and radar systems are out, Wing Commander. Proceed with the visual attack formation.
Life support good. Ammo packs a peak.
Think we gotta use Death Blossom.
Remember, Death Blossom delivers only one massive volley at close range. Theoretically.
What do you mean, theoretically?
After all, DB has never been tested. It might overload the systems. Blow up the ship.
What are you worried about, Krieg? Theoretically, we should already be dead.
Open Death Blossom petals. Switch is on. Do not trigger DB until we're within range. Just use your lasers until I give the signal. Remember to leave
Been
your
recruited
target.
by the Star League,
Come on,
defend the
relax.
frontier.
Now you're ready.
This is it. Here we go.
Charge! On your right! Your left!
Evade!
Power packs are low. We need time to recharge. Laser power draining.
Krieg, my weapons are gone! Should I do it?
Easy, easy. Wait till they're all in Death Blossom range. We did it. Yes, we actually did, didn't we?
The command ship!
Commander, our guns are out. Damage control's repairing them. Forget the guns! Running speed!
Weapons on! We have them now! Fire! Fire!
Damage report! Guidance system out. Auxiliary steering out. Divert! Divert! She won't answer the helm. We're locked into the moon's gravitational pull. What do? We die.
On behalf of the Star League and all citizens of Rylos, I congratulate you on your dazzling victory.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Joseph Campbell believed that everything begins with a story. So we begin this series with Joseph Campbell with one of his favorites. He was in Japan for a conference on religion, and he overheard another American delegate, a social philosopher from New York, say to a Shinto priest, "We've been now to a good many ceremonies and have seen quite a few of your shrines, but I don't get your ideology. I don't get your theology." The Japanese paused as though in deep thought, and then slowly shook his head. "I think we don't have ideology," he said. "We don't have theology. We dance." Campbell could have said it of his own life. When he died in 1987 at the age of 83, he was considered one of the world's foremost authorities on mythology, the stories and legends told by human beings through the ages to explain the universe and their place in it. The 20 books he wrote or edited have influenced artists and performers as well as scholars and students. When he died, he was working on a monumental historical atlas of world mythology, his effort to bring under one roof the spiritual and intellectual wisdom of a lifetime. Some of his books are classics. The Hero with 1,000 Faces, which established his fame 40 years ago, and his 4-volume study of mythology, The Masks of God. Joseph Campbell was one of the most spiritual men I ever met, but he didn't have an ideology or a theology. Mythology was to him the song of the universe, music so deeply embedded in our collective unconscious that we dance to it even when we can't name the tune. Over the last 2 summers of his life, we taped these conversations in California at Skywalker Ranch, the home of his friend George Lucas, whose movie trilogy Star Wars had been influenced by Campbell's work. We talked about the message and meaning of myth, about the first storytellers, about love and marriage, gods and goddesses, religion, ritual, art, and psychology. But we always came around to his favorite subject, the hero with 1,000 faces.
Hey guys, welcome. Andre Hodge, Infinite Potential Healing, Servant of Truth, with you once more. As always, I want to thank you for being here and allowing me to be a part of your journey. Depending what clips I put in, I always like to add some awesome teachings and stuff at the start to offer you amazing teachers and people with epic perceptions, or just clips from videos and stuff where all nuggets of wisdom and attitudinal training sort of stuff. And if I've included The Last Starfighter, I've been hanging to include that, all right? Like The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. I sort of had some really massive stuff happen this week, and it really inspired me to go raid my archives of videos and stuff. So maybe I would love to tell you all my mechanics, but I'm not going to talk about them all right? But just say I've got a lot of hard disks, and you know, the 10-15 years of going hardcore, especially during my trading days, all sorts of people came up on my radar. Like I've always said, I had this list, 2 lists: concepts I didn't know and teachers I didn't know. So I'd go keyboard ninja on the concepts and go and find that, and then use the pure organic YouTube before Google took it over and stuff, and how amazing the internet was 10 to 15 years ago compared to now, right? And then I just found all these teachers, so then I'd keep all the teachers on a list and stuff, and yeah, I had a really epic week and a prophetic dream early in the week, which I'm going to talk about, which led to all this stuff that I'm going to offer. And it's going to be a really big release, I feel like, from imparting my wisdom of the mechanics of things. So getting inspired about this video and seeking someone, the person I actually knew was the epic fit for this was a guy by the name of Jordan Maxwell. And if you haven't heard of Jordan Maxwell, he's been an amazing teacher for a long time, and trust me guys, I've done a lot of Jordan Maxwell, alright, and there's a lot that hasn't made it through the internet and stuff. A lot of channels have been removed, and I've got a huge archive of his, not as big as Ashiana, as you know, but it's a really awesome time to offer you some components that he was talking about, particularly about law, maritime admiralty law and civil law and stuff, the law of the land versus law of the sea, because I worked out the law of the Dreamtime, alright, or how the Dreamtime has been sort of acquired by the law of the frackers and Saturn and all that sort of stuff. So by me getting inspired to go find Jordan Maxwell and see what I had to crank up some old archive sort of stuff, and I went through my folders, and I really love those times to get inspired to broaden your horizons and revisit older stuff, and that triggered me to go look through other folders and other teachers I had, a bit like when I did the Ashiana stuff in October 2021. So yeah, I found Joseph Campbell. If you've never heard of him, I'm sure that clip that I've added, which is about the hero's journey and stuff, will be quite prophetic to you. And so to me, it's like we're all soul heroes to get to here and have the courage to pursue the truth to this level. So I honor you for your courage of the soul to somehow make it here, to make it on Earth in this limited 3D 5 sense reality, having the courage to go against the narrative, the majority, the herd sort of thing, be an outlier, like I say about the contrarian view. Maybe I'll show you that image. This one I've shown many times. I'll probably put it in Instagram soon. I don't think I've put it up yet. But I see everyone that has the courage to say, find me, is you're being contrarian to the reality and the consensus and the narrative and stuff to be able to pursue this stuff. So I honor you for that. But let's take it to a whole new level, right? I've made some big discoveries, and we had a big mission during the week. And it's getting quite late in my day, so I might not have time to explain it all. So this will be maybe part 1 of what I'm going to release. And if it gets too dark, I might just hold off and then do a second part, which will allow me to process a lot more, because a lot's gone on this week and stuff. So just think of the contrarian and having the courage to pursue truth and the trend of truth when it's not the most comfortable thing. But our soul yearns for knowledge, and you know what I said about the Joseph Campbell, about the hero's quest. Just see we're all on that courageous inner hero's quest for truth at the moment to understand what's going on. And today, with what I want to impart, I feel it's going to be a huge reward, because it's going to flip a lot. And we did have a massive victory, and it came about by a dream and stuff. So we'll just move on from this image. So this is one I've got on Instagram, but it's a bit of a metaphor of our journey. But just imagine your soul journey to get to here, what it's been like. I sort of talk about this in my sessions with people, but just imagine if you're accepting of what I say in the sovereignty declaration, right? about the trillion years. Just imagine what it's been like to get to here, get on Earth and stuff, because I worked out something really big. Okay, so I'm getting late in the day, and who knows how much I'm going to be able to share. But yeah, I'm just going to move on. But that's a cool metaphor of what it's probably been like for you this life, and bigger soul journey and stuff. So I just wanted to really impart that, to inspire you to keep going and keep pushing that hero's journey of your own journey to what is going on in your life, to our amazing planet. And perhaps we're very close to solutions of a lot, you know. So I thank you for allowing me to be a part of the journey, and we'll see where we go. All right. And this is one what I've shared a few times as well. This is like the metaphor of getting through all the 3D 5 cents, and then the sharks and the frackers, invaders and stuff, and beings that are in the community that are there to derail it. Because as I said, to me, like, the vast majority of the community has been set up to be a trap for those highly aware, right? And to derail and take us out and stuff, to prevent us being the most potent variable in society from breaking out of all the stuff, right? But if you've been around me for a while and thorough on my stuff, and particularly the last 6 to 9 months, all right, there was a lot of efforts to really do very bad things to sort of me and prevent all this, but it's like we've flipped it all. And the mechanics are 22D, all right? So I'll make sure I'll put this up on Instagram too as well. But the 22D, like I talk about the fractal barrier, it's basically the 15D, and beings that are hijacked. Like I said in Influences Part 6, there's actual beings out there that are made agreements with the negative aspects. If you see me pause and stuff like that, it's probably because I've got mozzies attacking me, and I don't want to get eaten alive. But what's gone on in the community is there's, as I said in Influences Part 6, so if I wanted to put out something really epic for the lead up to the eclipse, because a lot of people were freaked out by that, but to me it was always going to be a good thing. If society is trying to make it feel bad, then it's got to be good. And I had an epic dream, and then I did GSF with my allies midweek as well, and I've got a lot to say about that, but I'm not going to talk. I'm going to let the GSF stuff percolate through. But so this is a metaphor of our journey, alright, and this is the mechanics that I've sort of worked out. It's epic, you know. We've never known this stuff, you know. I've been doing this for a long time, and yeah, it's by design. We've never meant to be knowing what the mechanics are, because we're superior to everything out there that they've created. And there's a lot of invaders undercover in the community, and then there's a lot of people that have made agreements to get talents or whatever, and they've sort of sold their soul out to be Trojan horses and all sorts of stuff. Like I said in the last video, 2017, 2018, there was someone that agreed with Andrew to try and derail me in the last 6 months. So just imagine for me, like back in 2017, 18, I was very in deep, creating a lot and generating huge money, right, with the videos I was creating, and it was already planned for now, back then, okay? So it's no accident what's going on. They've all known this, and I take it that I'm a true threat to blowing up all their falsehood stuff. So I'm going to really make the most of it in this video, because I worked out something big with the Dreamtime. Alright, so this is our journey. This is what it's like, but we're superior to everything. They need us to be the code raids, the energy harvest source, because they need our tech. We've got it organic from Earth, but it's been with all the Babylon wipings and all that sort of stuff, right? So getting to the 22D has been the key, and working out the pure source stuff, right? Like, we've been invaded, our universe was invaded and stuff, and I'm going to expand on that a bit as well, right? But this is just what it's been like. I just wanted to offer this because it's a pretty good overview of what the journey's like, and we can get hit and all that sort of stuff. It's been tough. There's not that many that have made it through at the moment, so we've been like the tip of the truth spear and getting hammered to prevent all this, because once we're done, like, they're irrelevant, alright? So yeah, don't underestimate how potent and epic you are, and to me, like everyone that makes it through to on Earth now is a soul hero amongst the incarnation world. But I just challenge you of like, you made it here, so what are you going to do about it, alright? So we've gone through all crazy levels of crap to get here, and yeah, like we've made it to this awareness, so let's take it home, alright, for the rest of the multiverse. And I mean multiverse, alright? So this is coming to you the end of the second week in April 2024, and earlier this week, for those of you in the future, was on the 8th, was a pretty sensationalized in the narrative eclipse, solar eclipse, right? It was going through America and all sorts of symbolism and all that sort of stuff, but it was massively pumped up in the media to be a negative thing, and lots of fear and all sorts of drama, you know, was portrayed in the media and all that sort of stuff, and governments and that. So it was trying to inspire a lot of uncertainty and fear in people and stuff. So to me, right, the contrarian view is like, well, if you guys want it to be perceived as bad, it's got to be good, right? So that's how I am. And I mentioned this guy, Max Steele. He always used to tell me, look, when you see something negative, Andre, what you got to do is, in your mind, to the contrarian manifestation is like, it's not going to happen, right? So that's the key, is as an energy anchor and truth anchor and 22D pure source anchor that we are, embodying the pure source aspect, you got to just anchor that. So what happened for me on the Sunday night, I had this really epic dream, and it was a really cool dream. And just before I get into that, with what's been going on for a long time, like the last 9 months and stuff, I've been a part of a lot of Galactic Special Forces missions. So I've done it in a bit of a relaying, like offering a perspective after the fact sort of thing. It's not the ideal way for me. I love offering the actual missions so it's in real time and people can hear how organic we discover stuff in it, alright? And then we just take it apart. But there's a few earlier on ones, particularly Galactic Special Forces 2, which is about clearing the 700,000 sacrificed children's souls of the Vatican, and the blood was used to put on the post, like the post office network around the world as they established the colonization and control over the surface, alright? So that's just a variable one include. So I've offered them in the past, and that was 10 years ago. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. And the other thing, relative to crime and government and stuff in Galactic Special Forces Part 9, I offered an aspect of my family sort of stuff where I discovered a lot, and I went into Dreamtime and clobbered this entity of someone I know that was hooked in via contract to doing my labs and stuff like that. So I sort of, yeah, it was a poetic sort of thing, and realizing how vulnerable everyone is on humanity, and that's where it's just, yeah, epic. So that was 2015. I've been doing this stuff for a long time, right? So, but the recent 9 months here of doing a lot of missions with people that came through, and I'm actually being in my sessions giving a glimpse of people and their potential when I get them clear, and how effortless and easy it is, and had a lot of victories and stuff. And I was sharing a lot of the missions between clients and stuff like that, and there's been a lot of efforts to sort of counteract and infiltrate and take people out and stuff. And the individual I was dealing with in December, as I said, all public people that I've probably dealt with in the last 3 years at being infiltrators and frackers, like epic frackers, alright? And I've just given them a chance and stuff. But what happened in December, there was a lot of effort of using my mechanics to take a lot of people out around me, and it was very diabolical. So just go back to what I was doing in December, and that's how you can track that back, because we're going from the unknown of the mechanics of these guys and what they do, and they've got the... So if I just show you the unknown image while I'm here, alright? I haven't shown this for a while, but this is the metaphor of what we've been doing, and this is the mechanics I've sort of worked out, and we've been chipping away at making the unknown the black known. And so there's been a lot of effort to push back and go at the people have been aligned with and stuff. And but we've just had massive victories, alright? That's what I'm getting to, and we've been chipping away. And the metaphor I worked out, and this is going to make you laugh, it's like, do you imagine like this really nasty diabolical cake is being baked, alright? And that's what this reality is. And what we're doing is we're reverse engineering it and taking away ingredients from that frackery cake to sort of pull it apart of what's been going on. And it's been very hard to even know it's a cake and stuff like that. But just imagine it's disgusting, the worst tasting cake in the frickin' multiverse. And we've had to go in and work out all the ingredients of how that cake's been baked. So we've got to reverse engineer a cake that's already been made, alright? And take away the ingredients and components that allow the cake to be what it is, alright? So that's a metaphor of what's been going on. And we've never even known we've been dealing with a cake, let alone this Dreamtime stuff that I'm going to talk about, alright? So we've been having huge victories, alright? So I'll put this on Instagram at some point as well, alright? So, like I said, I've been doing this stuff for 10 years, and it's not any bragging rights or anything. It's like, obviously I've dealt with a lot of aware people, and we've shared the information, and it's been fascinating what hasn't been shared or known and stuff, and what hasn't been shown is obvious now, alright? Like I say, most of the people I've dealt with in the past have been literally trying to take me out and stuff, alright? So the missions have been going like this, and that cake, they're going parabolic and stuff. And so this week it was very prophetic on many levels for myself with all I've been through, right? And so what I'm going to call this is Pure Source Spiritual Assembly for Multiverse Resolution and Dreamtime Clearing, or Dreamtime Liberty, or Dream Liberation, or Dreamtime Return to Sovereignty, or something like that, because it was related to the Dreamtime a bit, alright? Because what I worked out was what was going on in the Dreamtime for a very long time, alright? So what I might do is just explain the dream I had, okay? And then I'll offer the Jordan Maxwell clip, because if I've done the clip right relative to Joseph Campbell, I included the section about the birth and the hero's journey from the birth. So we're birthed from women, and we come through the water and the birth canal and all that sort of stuff, right? So the Jordan Maxwell clip is all about maritime admiralty law, alright? But I got the connection into the Dreamtime construct that we've been dealing with for a long time. And it's related to the linguistics spiritual court of equity, alright? And I've employed them. I've had no reason to change them. And the key is, if you get what I've offered for a long time, is that violation is our asset, okay? So if we accumulate violations, then we get to call in the karmic restoration of that debt relative to the violation. So there's a purpose and a timing for everything, okay? So you might think that I've created that, alright? And I've been a part of that, and I happily offer that, alright? So if I violated you, it's all included into your resolution, but the key, what I'm saying here is, this is what you should probably note down, alright? Is it's time to change the linguistics of spiritual code equity to pure source spiritual assembly for multiverse resolution, because yeah, the dream I had was really epic. And then I worked out a solution in it, because we're going to work with that and maintain the construct, but we're going to, in a way, alright, but we're going to take it back, alright, and we're going to bring in all the multiverse that have been violated, because I realize, and I'll get into the multiverse stuff after. I'll show you the image now, just up front, okay? So a couple of videos ago, alright, relative to the pure source audit that we did, and we've been doing a lot more, that I worked out the mechanics of the universe based on this. So there was an invasion, the Weezadak, invaders took over, they've imposed themselves on our universe and using us as nourishment and stuff. And pure source and the 10,000 central suns have been isolated. We didn't even know that mechanics was out there. But we what I said in the Pure Source audit from a couple weeks ago, alright, that was done on the equinox. But we audited all the universe and all the fractals in it, and formation of a new truth records, alright? None of this Akasha bullshit overlay from another planet, alright? It's the truth records, and there was nowhere to hide, and people were trying to evade it, like I talked about the frackers, thinking they can get away, but all their skeleton closets are busted, you know, all their dimensional portals, thinking they're outside of time, everything was all seen and stuff, alright? So this is a very basic structure of the universe that I sort of offered, and it's not perfect, but it's meant to be very simple so people can get it. So you can just see the green universe with the red overlay. The red is the invaders, and the all-seeing eyes, the invader, Weezedak, sort of negative multiverse stuff that occurred. Alright? So that's the structure. So I'll move on from this quick. So what I worked out, and the reason why I use Pure Source Spiritual Assembly for multiverse resolution. So you see that is like a smaller version of the last image I showed you. But just imagine there's all these frackers in the multiverse, right? And they're doing messed up all other universes and stuff like that. And I feel like there was a point where all of these frackers were almost done and taken out, right? And our universe originated from the concept of trying to create a pristine, pure environment free of all this stuff, because there's been issues in other universes and stuff. And at that moment of the conception of our universe, as I say in the Sovereignty Declaration, alright, that moment where the whole multiverse thought that they had all these frackers, they flipped it, and they had an outlet to ours. So our universe has been had all the worst frackers in the multiverse that no one else wants, so they escape to ours, okay? This is big concept sort of stuff, but just visualize that, alright? If you can appreciate all this mechanics, you know, you get the structure, so it's like the outside edges of a puzzle, alright? So as you see, I've sort of chipped away at this, you know, and built on it. So if it's true or not, then it helps unfold other data and stuff, right? So this is why I use the linguistics, Pure Source Spiritual Assembly for multiverse resolution. Because what we're going to do is invite all the victims of all the frackers that are here to come into our assembly for resolution. So all the frackers that are here, they have to deal with all their past multiverse sort of frackery that they escaped from, alright? Okay? Because they've been doing it a long time, alright? So if that makes sense, I'm just going to move on, because this is what I need to tell you as well. In my declaration, I'll look to update it to version 3.3 at some point soon. It's just been a pretty heavy week and had to go to ground a bit and stuff, but where I've put spiritual core equity, you need to cross that out and put spiritual assembly for multiverse resolution. It's the next level of stuff because we flipped it all, alright? We're just see that I sort of worked with that to set a trap, alright? And now we get to execute the trap, okay? So what I'm going to do is talk about my dream quick. It's getting darker and stuff, so I'm going to do my best to fit as much in as I can, but I may not include everything, so I might look to do a second part. Right? I think all these concepts, keeping it quite simple to dig in deeper after, will be very beneficial so that you guys can process it. It's interesting, I've had some people reach out and it's like they were working this out organically themselves. They just didn't have the accurate sort of solution sort of stuff that I do. Like I don't change things for the sake of it. If they work, they work. And if like this sort of scenario is going on, then there's a purpose to me employing it. So a lot of people, and this isn't a negative thing, they feel inferior to things, so they don't risk trying because they're more fearful of the consequence and stuff. And I've talked about my sort of attitude is I'd rather not have regret and try and fail than not try at all, right? Because the difference about me is I believe in myself to be able to undo everything. And say if I've created something and that has a problem, then I take responsibility for it. And so there's people along like the last year or two that think that I might be doing something stupid and all this sort of stuff, but I actually collect evidence. Violation is an asset, so I just collect violations and stuff, and say if I work solutions out like this, then if you've been violated, then you get to engage that to actually contribute to the brewing of our solution, you know, in your own state, for everyone, you as a hero soul on the surface of Earth now, because we've been through so much crap to get here. It's not time to check out or anything. It's time to push harder and enjoy the fracka farewell party that we're going to have. It's going to be epic, right? So what I'm going to do is just talk about my dream that I had on the Sunday night Monday, which was before the eclipse. And we did GSF on this after that as well. But I'm not going to really talk about the GSF stuff. We clobbered so much with the context of this, right? We just took everything to town, and you'd be surprised what we dealt with, because it was epic. And I guess I don't want to talk about that because I want to let it percolate through rather than putting targets on our back sort of thing. But yeah, this dream. And then with the context of the dream, I'm going to offer the Jordan Maxwell clip, because I was, with all the missions of late and getting the Universal Sovereignty Declaration out and then doing the audit last month and stuff, I don't know what it's been like for you, but I've had a lot more energy. I haven't needed as much sleep. I've been really fired up and inspired. And so say when I get this dream and I get inspired to go to my old stuff, like I said, I found that Joseph Campbell clip that's epic, and there's a lot more of Joseph that I'm probably going to share. He's full of wisdom if you've never heard of him. Obviously he's an epic teacher of the past that's probably been forgotten a bit, so I love sharing those things. But hitting the books with Jordan was fun. I've always liked Jordan and stuff, and I love his nature. There's other clips that I'm probably looking for. There was this one where he was where he was a kid and they had the bishop come to his school and he made the bishop look shit. I'd love to find that. I might not get it for this one. I'm not sure where I'll find it. I'll have to go through a lot of stuff, and obviously I'm leaving a bit late to get this video done, and the videos take a lot of effort and time and stuff. But I'll definitely look to share that clip. It's really funny at some point. If you've never heard of Jordan, this is like an honor to offer him. He was in the trenches of truth for a long time, as this clip I'll share, but it relates to the law, alright? And I worked out what was going on in the Dreamtime, because like I said a bit earlier about Galactic Special Forces Part 2, where we cleared up the stuff under the Vatican and stuff. And even me being in Australia with the Dreamtime and knowing that the Dreamtime was invaded down here, like the rest of the world was taken out sort of thing, and Australia was kind of like colonized pretty late, right? Because it had to undo all the other parts. And you know, I've worked with sort of someone that had epic Dreamtime talents and stuff, and I've worked out what, using that spiritual code of equity, it was actually empowering the control over the Dreamtime, alright? And we've been going into the construct that has been there, but it was definitely employing our epic, super psychic, sort of co-creative talents to empower it. And so really busted it this week, alright? So I'm going to offer my dream and the words and the linguistics and the metaphor of what it was. And so with the Joseph Campbell about the birth hero as a soul, and then the Jordan Maxwell on the linguistics of legal sort of stuff and the court and the racket, it's going to put it together really well. And then I'll just come out the other side on the other end and see what I say. So getting into the stream, right? So like I said, the last, say, month or two, things have been going very parabolic and energy getting back and stuff. So I don't really talk about Dreamtime much, and I haven't really focused on it. I feel a lot of other people it's their talent. It's not so one that I focus on myself, but I don't discount it. And I don't, I'm infinite potential. I don't put a limit on myself, but I just allow it to be what it is. And you can imagine, like, it's been really harsh for me. I've been targeted heavily and beaten up when I wake up and stuff like that. And it's been a battle just to stay alive. So I have had people say I'm in their dream time and stuff, but if you go back to the influences stuff, the early ones, back in June 2021, and I had to work out a lot of concepts because a lot of people were saying I was doing negative stuff in their dream time, but what it turns out is your image, your residual image, can be stolen, and someone was using my body, my image, and going and doing very negative shit to people, and it was an effort to discredit me way back then, and no one was going through this sort of stuff, right? And the people questioned me and that, and then I did healings on everyone and stuff, and yeah, it's just really, like I say, that fear of trying and not being a healer and stuff. A lot of people have an inferiority complex about these fuckers, but as I said, I'll just show you the image quick. 22D, we are the superior ones. We've just never been offered the truth of what's going on, because from a big part of the variables and people in the spiritual community are actually working for intelligence sort of stuff, whether they know it or not, but they're invader aligned, like the United Intruder and Resistance. They're all ETs, invaders from the other universes that I showed you in that image before, alright? So we've been superior, but a lot of people have allowed themselves to manifest their inferiority and their vulnerability, and that's why I'm all about infinite potential, because this is where we're at now with that concept, right? So the dream. So yeah, like I'm giving you where I'm at. Like I try and shut down, and I've warned people, don't assume that I'm in your dreams if it's me and stuff. You need to be able to discern, you need to be able to work it out, right? But I have had pretty epic dreams, and it feels like one of the big things I've really gotten going again in my body is my gut and mind, that sort of system over these last couple of months, and then the byproduct is the dream time and stuff. And so obviously this week with the eclipse there was a lot going on and stuff. I did the influences part 6 about the energy non-crisis and talked about a lot of the influences in that. And the night after I went into my Sunday night and wake up with a really amazing dream. And obviously I include the Michael Jordan clips about the dunking and stuff, right? Because basketball in the 90s was a big thing. Like I'm an 80s kid and stuff, and you can't appreciate how massive he was back then, right? And how exciting basketball was, and everyone was wearing Jordans. I remember buying a pair of Nike Air Jordans for $300 in 1990, like I was working at Burger King. And yeah, like just having them on your feet and stuff, like sneakers became really big back then, and yeah, people used to get like beaten up for their sneakers and stuff. It used to be called rolled and that, but so basketball was a big thing and playing it and stuff. So what happened, the other thing, I did do a video of like a tennis court sort of structure in Australia. There's one near me. I don't know how good the video will come out, and I may not put it in, but I might be overlaying it now just to give you an idea. Like a lot of, I don't know what goes on in your world, but we have a lot of outdoor sports and ovals and tennis courts and facilities and stuff. And we might have really big like clubhouses sort of in different districts. Like we call it suburbs over there. You guys call it counties in different areas of the world and stuff. But there's a lot of recreation stuff, as you can imagine, in Australia and that. So we have a lot of tennis courts and stuff. And there's one near me that's like three rows, and it's got 4 courts, right? So it's 12, all right? But it's in 3 rows of 4. And what I in my dream, I felt like I was in some like really big court structure. It was like tennis courts, but in Australia we also have basketball courts. So it was outdoors, right? And it was in one of these clubhouses, and it was in an evening. So I'll just show you the image relative to the court structure, right? I did this really rough. So you imagine it's 3 rows of 6 instead of 3 rows of 4. And there was a clubhouse sort of in the corner that's like closest to the top row. So the top row is 1, middle row is 2, and third row is 3. So I was playing in that second court on the second row. So imagine it's like, if there's a hierarchy, it's like the second level hierarchy. But there was a layer above me that I sort of wasn't playing on and stuff. And so it was, I'll just have this, but I'll put it down so you can just focus on what I'm going to say, alright? So I was practicing before a game. It was like evening, and you know, if you've ever watched some Michael Jordan moves, he does these post-ups where he's down low and then he spins and shoots it into the basket. And I was just warming up before the game, and I was doing all that. And you imagine like a basketball ring, if you've ever tried to shoot baskets, the ring's pretty small, right? It's really small, so it's like, you know, it can be tiny. But what happens is, if you ever watch Michael Jordan, he just never misses, right? Like if he wants to hit a shot, he could hit a shot, and he was always on fire. Like if you watch, I highly recommend watching The Last Dance if you've never seen it. If you guys are new, on Netflix, a couple of years ago, there's an awesome documentary series about him and the Chicago Bulls called The Last Dance, right? And yeah, it's a favorite, but it's not so much about basketball, it's about attitudinal, mystical training, like warrior training and stuff. And there's a lot of attitudinal stuff that you can learn in that to embody into your life. So everything I watch, I embody. So you might think that I'm putting clips out to say this about me, but what you're picking up is that I've already embodied that as a training, because you can have like a tool belt of all the attitudes you can employ at the right time to get you through to get you through the next screen or next whatever you're going through in life, to power you through when you need motivation and stuff, or different technology aspects of your emotion to get through, right? So yeah, what I was doing in the game and practice, like I was feeling really good in my dream time. Like it was my dream. I was kicking ass in basketball, and I saw the hoop go from like a little thing to a giant. You imagine a hula hoop, like the ring is very big. So when that happens, it's like you're in the zone, like you don't miss, and everything you put up, it just goes in and stuff. So I was brewing for this really freaking epic game. I was like feeling like Michael Jordan, going to dominate the game and stuff. And then what happened? I was looking for the ball. The ball disappeared, alright? So I was like, where's the ball? Where's the ball? You know, just imagine in a dream you're wanting to shoot and practice, ready for the game, and you can't find the ball. And then all the other players are sort of gone. Like I couldn't tell there was people around me, but just imagine I was not alone on the court, but I was just practicing before the game and very excited for the game and looking forward to have a really good game and kicking butt and stuff. And then all of a sudden what happened, it was like the game was cancelled and everyone was gone and I didn't have the ball and I was on the court, right? And so I was in that second rung, just like, what the F, you know? It was like the game was not going to happen and I was set. And in a way I was sort of wiped. It was like, what? Huh? What? But I got this feeling, and it's a very subtle feeling, but I know that feeling that someone else had booked the courts, right, on the first rung, all right? So if I just show you the image again. So you imagine like I was on court 2, all right, in the construct of the Dreamtime courts, all right? And on the first rung, and the clubhouse, I wasn't a member of the clubhouse, I was just playing on the courts, you know, as a participant sort of thing. But someone that was a clubhouse member, alright, decided to book all the courts and book the first 2, but in booking those first 2, the primary courts, like the top ones, like closest to the clubhouse, they cancelled everything else on the court because in that construct they had authority to do that, alright? So this was my dream, and my game on the court was cancelled without like consideration or anything. So it was like, it wasn't my scenario in the dream. I was playing on some structure. You imagine like the court system and law, alright? And I was like, what? And I never saw who it was, but I knew who it was. Does that make sense? Like I knew it was ABDE, right? Controlling the construct in the dream time, right? And I was like, I wake up and I was like processing this, because as I said, like Galactic Special Forces Part 2, relative to what we did with the Vatican and clearing all that out, relative to what happened in Australia, because I know when they sent convicts to Australia, they had millions of demons, like they were tortured people. As soon as they stepped on the land, the demons, it was like a spiritual warfare, like the English invaded China and stuff with the Opium Wars. They were using opium as a spiritual warfare to attack the Chinese and hook them into the opium sort of demons and stuff, like, because all the drugs have all demons and entities associated with them. So when they sent the convicts to Australia, it was a Dreamtime attack sort of thing, to go and attack the Dreamtime, to insert the law in the land, because the judges control the Dreamtime, right? And that's where the crime comes from, because the judges on the Dreamtime issue the orders to the criminal entities and stuff, and that's where crime sort of comes in this world, right? So what I got in this dream was the court system related to the hierarchy in the Dreamtime, where it either formed on the land to take control in the Dreamtime, or it's a separate sort of structure that has a relationship to the structures in power here, like the Anunnaki and the invaders and stuff, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the Jordan Maxwell clip right now, alright? And then I'll come back on the other side, alright? So he'll talk about the law and all that sort of stuff with the Maritime Admiralty law and the linguistics and the court and the racket, how it's all done, alright? And then I'll be here on the other side, alright? So enjoy this clip. If you've never seen Jordan Maxwell, he's epic, and I think you'll get a lot from this, because what I'm going to tie it up is relative to the Dreamtime on the other end, okay? So enjoy. See you on the other side.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here at the 4th Annual ConspiracyCon 2004 Memorial Day weekend. Appreciate that you're here. Most of you were here this morning when I made a few announcements about how many of our presenters are solution-oriented. And the person you're about to see is just such a person. He is going to be provided with an introduction honored today by Jordan Maxwell, an associate and friend of ours here at the conference. And again, about solutions. Look at that symbol right there. Might look a little bit familiar. And I don't use that symbol by accident, and neither is our next presenter, who is also an associate and good friend of Jordan Maxwell. Jordan, some of you know, has spoken at this event and others like it. And I thought it would be appropriate for Jordan to provide a little bit of a hidden history lesson as to what has happened to our country, what has happened to this planet, what has happened to our legal system, our financial system. He is very knowledgeable about secret societies, symbolism, fraternal orders, all the things and elements and groups that are behind what has happened. And I couldn't think of anybody better to introduce our next guest. So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Jordan Maxwell. He will be up here for about 15 minutes. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here with us today. A lot of kind words have been said about me, but I want to clarify a few things. I'm not the world's foremost authority on anything. I never have been, I'm not now, nor will I ever be. I'm too smart for that. Because I know how much I don't know. And I'm learning every day that I live, the world keeps opening up larger and larger. And I started this escapade back in 1959. I started talking to audiences in 1962 about secret societies, the New World Order, occultism, and it was in 1966 that Anthony J. Hilder produced his first record set with Myron Fagan on Illuminati. And it was Anthony J. Hilder and Myron Fagan who introduced into American society the idea of secret societies and Illuminati. So when you hear the concept being discussed by anyone of secret societies, and especially that word Illuminati, remember it was Anthony J. Hilder who introduced it, and the man who talked about it, Anthony actually produced the records, and it was Myron Fagan, a very important man that you need to know about, who's no longer with us. Myron Fagan was the man who introduced the idea of Illuminati. As I said, I was talking about these subjects back in 1962 before most of the people who now talk about it were even still in school. So consequently, I've looked at many different areas of conspiracy since that time. And I'm appalled at what I see happening in this country today. We are told that America is the land of laws, a nation built on laws. In point of fact, nothing could be further from the truth. America is run by people who are lawless. We have no law in America, and understand that. The law is whatever the powers that be in power happen to say it is today. Whatever they say it is, that's what the law is today. And it may change tomorrow. So what you need to understand is this is not a nation of laws, it's a nation of lawlessness. And somewhere along the line, we're going to be dealt with by that universal God force because of what we have allowed to happen in our country. Now, in relation to the subject today, which is the occult world of commerce, let me give you a couple of examples of I think where you need to start thinking. If you are going to send a box through the mail and you need to wrap it with some rope, you go out in the garage and you find some rope and tie up the box, and that should be sufficient to do the mailing. But if you're going to take that rope out to the edge of a 10-story building and hang on it, you better trust and you better examine the integrity of that rope now, because your life hangs in the balance on it. Another example is if you owned a 2-story building and you were going to put a lot of weight on the second floor. If you were smart, you would go downstairs first with the structural engineer, get on a ladder, and go up through the ceiling tiles and examine the floor that you're going to put that weight on to see if the floor is going to hold that kind of weight. So what you're doing is you are standing under the foundation you're going to build on. You're standing under to get understanding, because that's where the word understand comes from, to stand under the foundation that you're building on. Understanding words is what you really need to start doing. You need to start doing your homework and understanding words. If you put an S in front of words, it becomes swords. And that's what words are. They're cutting. They can cause you great trouble. Humans are word-controlled creatures. So we need to establish what words mean. Again, when we talk about law, there's a Roman maximum in law that says, "For he that would be deceived, let him." Simply meaning, if you are so ignorant as to be deceived, then that's your business, that's your problem. So you need to do your homework and find out what the words mean, especially in relation to law and government. Because there is a world of occultism that is operating today throughout the world, in which you use certain words, and when those words are used in a court, they don't mean the same thing at all. Understanding law and the words of law, there are two things that this planet has: water and earth, water and land. Consequently, there are two kinds of law: the law of the land and the law of water. You've heard the term law of the land, but in point of fact, that's precisely what this word means, law of the land, because it is the people who live on land. And that is opposed to something else called the law of the high seas, or the law of water. You need to understand the difference. The law of the land is the law of the culture that lives on the land. And so consequently, the law of the land is different in every country. You can do things in America you can't do in Russia. You can do things in Africa you can't do in England. So the law of the land is the law of the culture that lives on that particular land. However, there is a higher law that dominates the entire world. It's called the law of the water, or the law of the high seas. The law of water is referred to as the law of money. It doesn't matter what color you are, where you're from, or where you live. Money is money. And anytime you're doing banking or using money, you are now under the law of water, maritime admiralty. If you go back in history, in ancient history, where all of this began, back in the land of Canaan, and you probably have heard in the Bible, the land of Canaan. The Canaanites were Phoenician bloodline, and in the ancient Phoenician language, Cana meant merchant banker. The very word merchant comes from mer, M-E-R, for the sea, for water. As a mermaid, we have merchant. Merchant bankers. Let me give an example of the difference between the law of water and the law of the land. The law of water, as I said, is a law of banking, money, as opposed to the law of the custom of the people or the law of the land. The Statue of Liberty must be put in water. It could not be put on American land as such. It had to be put in the harbor, because it's not the Statue of Freedom. It's a Statue of Liberty. Liberty is what a sailor gets when he pulls into port on a ship. He gets liberty. He's not free. So America is not the land of the free and the home of the brave. We're not free or brave, period. We're not free. This is not a free country. Now let me give you an example of how this law of the water works. Why is it that you have to go to court? People are always concerned about going to court. You go to court because you play basketball and tennis on a court. How do you play tennis on a court? You play with a racket. Why? Because that's what it is. It's a racket. And make no mistake, they do not pick words by chance. These words are very serious. They do not use words in terms with no avail. These words are very important. When you go into a court, what's the idea of going to court? It's a game, like basketball. The whole idea in a court is to put the ball back in the other guy's court. One team gets up and they throw the ball over to that team of lawyers. That team gets up and throws the ball back into their court. And consequently, it's a ball game. And the judge is wearing a black robe, so he is the referee. The judge is the referee. He doesn't care which side wins or loses, because he's going to get paid anyway. So he couldn't care less. He's merely there as a referee, and that's why he wears a black robe. And that's another interesting subject we can get into later. But the judge is a referee between two teams. The judge, we are told, rules from the bench. The word bench in Latin is a bank. Therefore, the judge rules for the bank. Where do you find banks? You find banks on both sides of a river. They're called river banks. And what does a river bank do? It directs the flow of the current sea. The juice. Consequently, your money is currency because it's the flow, the cash flow. And I'll give you an example of how this works. When a ship pulls into a harbor, all ships are referred to as female. Airships, rocket ships, sailing ships are always female. Why? There's a very good reason. Maritime Admiralty banking law says all ships are female because they're carrying items for money, and so consequently they are under Maritime Admiralty law. Admiralty is where we get the word admiral, admiral of the Navy. Let me give you an example of how this works. When a ship pulls into harbor, it parks at the dock, and it ties off at the dock. The captain has to provide for the port authorities a certificate of manifest, because yesterday the ship was not here, but this morning the ship pulled in, so it has manifested. So consequently, all the products, the $800 million worth of TVs or Toyotas, have manifested. So each one of those items coming off of that ship has come off of water. And each end they has come in a ship. And consequently, on a ship, all ships have a captain. The word captain comes from a Latin word capital, money. So the captain represents the money that's on board the ship. And as I said, the captain has to present to the port authorities a certificate of manifest for each and every item. How much does it weigh? What color is it? How many doors does it have? Etc. And consequently, the captain presents a certificate of manifest. The ship is sitting in its berth. Wherever a ship sits when it docks is called its berth. She sits in her berth, berthing a ship. Consequently, all the items, as I said, coming off that ship represent money. They came in on water. They are Maritime Admiralty product. And this is true all over the world. Now, when you were born, your mother's water broke. And when your mother's water broke, you came out. And this is why you have to have a birth certificate, because you are a Maritime Admiralty product under international law. You are considered, your body is considered a Maritime Admiralty product. Your mother delivered you. This is why if you go to Sears and buy a refrigerator, they will ship it to you. They will deliver it. And that's why you were in your delivery room. Your mother was delivering a product. Maritime Admiralty, you came down your mother's birth canal. And once you, and as you're taking one of the televisions or the cars off the ship and it falls down and breaks, that's all right. Sometimes they're stillborn, so consequently you've lost money on that one. Therefore you have to have a death certificate, and it's always signed by the doc. The doc has to sign your birth certificate and your death certificate. All of these words and terms are Maritime Admiralty banking words. And therefore, if you understand lawyers and judges and courts and government are all under international Maritime Admiralty law. All religions, all churches in the world operate under maritime law. This is why all churches are divided into denominations, like 20s and 50s and 100s. serious. This is why they're called denominations, because all churches are nothing more than the product of maritime admiralty banking. It's an extraordinary story of occult treason, high treason and crimes against the state. Make no mistake about it, there has never been a country on the face of the earth as far back into history as you can go. There has never existed a country in which the people rose up and demanded their right to be free. Never. The concept of human, spiritual, intellectual, and physical freedom is a totally concept that has never, ever existed on the earth. The only time that has ever come into existence was the founding of this country, where it was understood that we were sovereigns and we owned our bodies, and consequently, since 1868, we're now under international maritime admiralty law. Think about this. When cowboys in Indian movies, when the cowboys would ride into town, they'd get off the horse, they were wearing guns. How come they could walk into a bar carrying guns? And if two guys got in an argument, they could go out on the street and draw on each other in front of the sheriff's office, and the sheriff would do nothing. How come? How come that men could go out in the street and shoot each other in front of everyone and had nothing be done about it? The reason why is because before 1868, all Americans were considered sovereigns. And that's one of the nice things about being a sovereign, is you have the right to be yourself. And consequently, you need to understand that in one last point I'm going to make before I introduce your speaker, that in 1868 there was a corporation founded. Anyone can incorporate a company. Well, in 1868 there was a company incorporated. And in that particular company, the founders of that company they referred to it as the United States Corporation. And they stipulated that anybody who would be a member of that corporation or work for that corporation would be called not an employee, but a citizen. So today, if you are asked, are you a citizen of the United States? What you think you're being asked is, are you lawfully in this country to do business? That's not lawfully what's being asked. They didn't ask if you were in America lawfully. They ask you a specific question. Are you, of your own volition, out of your own mouth, testifying that you are a citizen of the United States? Because in that way, citizen of the United States means you are an employee of a foreign corporation operating on international maritime law. So today, the President of the United States is the president of a privately owned company. The company is called United States. And the word president is always a word that is used in corporate law. Banks have presidents. All companies have presidents. So there's a corporation called United States, privately owned, and it has a president. President Bush is not the president of America. President Bush is the president of a privately owned company. Privately owned, out of England. And you need to understand words and terms. Because I believe that there is a divine presence in the universe that men call God, and one day that divine presence is going to move on the earth, and we're going to see freedom come back to this world. And when it does, you're going to need to understand words and terms and how they have been used to trick you. And that's the speech that today I'm introducing Jason Whitney, to give you some ideas about how these words have been used to enslave you. And with that, I'd like to introduce my friend, Jason Whitney.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for being here. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of your journey, you epic soul hero. Alright. So yeah, very interesting, isn't it? I'm going to look for other clips. I've just not had a lot of time to go through it all. As you can imagine, going through 2 or 3 hours of Jordan, it's pretty epic. And I really like having a purpose to go and revisit this stuff, like I said with Ashiana and stuff. But this dream, because I've been very deeply involved with the sovereignty sort of stuff for a long time. As I said in February 10th, when I released that video about the Universal Sovereignty Declaration, when I created or evolved my creation that expanded it a lot, and I made it like a truth codex of everything going on in 30 or 40 pages. So the new people coming online, and I've had people that I've met that are new that are coming online very quick, and they've read it and it's been very profound. What I'm saying now is the time we need to change the linguistics of spiritual court equity, which is the way the dream time is being entangled with the law and the invaders, right? We changed that to pure source spiritual assembly for multiverse resolution, right? Because after this dream that I'm talking about, so I was on this second court, my dream was invaded, my game was over. It was like I was going to win the game, so they just cancelled and erased the whole game. And the Dreamtime construct that was meant to be mine, that I didn't realize I was not in control of, I was just a passenger of and caught up in, just went in and messed with my thing, erased it and took control of it. And my game wasn't, it's my freaking Dreamtime. I'm in control of my Dreamtime. You can't go in and just cancel my awesome dreams, alright, and mess with it like that. So all this gave me, violation is an asset, alright. So what I worked out is who it was, D, AB, messing with it. And so they're messing with everyone's dream time relative to the spiritual court of equity linguistics, because this is the spiritual court of equity, okay? This is how it works. Like, we're inferior, and they've got the construct as the authority of it. It's their construct. So what we've done is because of, like I said, the most potent in society have been drawn to the spiritual community, which has been a setup for failure, like it's been a trap for the highly aware, alright? So then I was processing this, I was like, on the day of eclipse, it's like, wow, because this shouldn't happen. And like I've had in the back of the mind the Jordan Maxwell stuff and all the missions I've done, everything, like I said, has been brewing to us having massive victories. We've been taking everything apart, working out the 22D, we're the reality authorities. I reconnected Earth to Source back in September last year with an epic ally, gave Metatron the option to rejoin our fold or be eliminated, and giving him the data of how he was violated, he came back online. He chose it organically himself, and he's looking to redeem himself for what he did. And working out the pure source nature of the universe structure, and then doing the audit a few weeks ago, we've had massive victories, and everything is revealing itself. All this very hard depth, hard to work out sort of stuff is all percolating to the surface. So that's where you got to see that a lot of these beings have been going at me to try and derail and discredit me, because I'm their threat, okay? And I've been helping people get onto their talents and stuff, and then a lot of people get targeted in this reality, but it's experiential data. You can't, if you get targeted or hit and stuff, it's extreme experiential reference, and it's not a game, alright? It's not a freaking court structure like this. It's real. And that should be very motivational, because, like I said, we're soul heroes to get here in the multiverse, okay? So this is where I flip the linguistics. It's like, so that's where I was percolating back. If I just show you the other image, alright? So like I said, with the audit, I worked out the structure, and we did the big audit, alright? And we cleared up a lot got eliminated because they're just never going to make it, and we know where they're from, alright? And so that was a massive victory of working out that concept. Once I worked out the structure, that we've got the superiority in the universe to all this shit, okay? And that's where we initiated with pure source, and he's like, why haven't you done it already? And the 10,000 central suns, right? The 10,000 central suns are a big variable here, okay? So that's where I was like percolating with this variable of the audit, and then having the dream time reveal itself like it did to me, okay? So if I just move on to the other image, So this is why I offer the linguistics, and I'll be changing my declaration, and I offer the linguistics here, so you change it yourself, right? And you go back through time for all the times that you've used spiritual quiet equity that this has caught you up. It's like you've got a lot of karma bank to call, all right? But we did clear it all up in the GSF, but it's not for us to violate you or anything. It's not like we violated, but what I say in many of my things and with people, it's like if you get violated, then we can go take the whole structure apart for that violation and free it up for everyone else. So it might have been a really interesting week for a lot of you, all right? But this is why I say spiritual assembly for multiverse resolution, because then I was like, with that structure of the universe, all this stuff has come from invaders. The invader strategy has been vaster from my perspective. This is just my perspective. You can percolate it and contemplate it yourself. But just imagine, like I said, it felt like the multiverse was getting to a point to checkmate all this frackery, and then a pure universe was being brewed to be a oasis from all this crap. That the cunningness of and the motivation of all these invaders that we've had around us, they're very, very skilled and very governed by self-preservation, right? They flipped it on us, and then instead of our universe being the pure best universe that there could be, it became the arse end of the multiverse, and all the crap in it that they were trying to remove found its way to us, and we've had the worst of the worst sort of shit going on. And that's where, if you've gone through the sovereignty declaration, right, it outlines all the influences and the disadvantage we've had, the incarnation war and all that sort of stuff, right? So that's why I offer it now as a spiritual assembly for multiverse resolution, because they've escaped their karma from other multiverses. So there's a lot of resolution that they need to do in other universes that they've escaped because they've made their way here, all right? So this is me being a brat, all right? Okay, so I'll just go to the other image of the courts, all right? So say this construct is set up, all right, and we've got a disadvantage. So now we know it, and now this is how it works. We're not second in our own Dreamtime construct. Earth doesn't want this stuff, all right? And we qualified it with her in the GSF that I said during the week that we did, all right? But this is where it's like the multiverse assembly. It's like, you like playing court and games on a tennis court, and you like to be on center court. So how about we make it a giant freaking stadium, like the biggest stadium that's like the Roman Colosseum or Wimbledon or the US Tennis Open sort of, or some big basketball stadium. You imagine there's a huge stadium around their center court, watching all the frackery they do, all right? And we'll invite all the multiverse, all the victims of your shit in other universes, all right? And the front row seats are all reserved for the 10,000 Center Suns, so they got front row seats to watching all the frackery going on. So we set up this structure. It's like, okay, you want to employ this? So we get to see all the shit that you've done, and everything through time has ever been done, and everyone that's been violated by the spiritual code equity of imposing on the dream time and then percolating through reality. Because our dream is like creative talent manifesting sort of stuff. So it's all been violated on a massive level, and then we've all been wiped, and we've never known this sort of structure. This is my interpretation of it. You might have your own, but me giving you this coordinates of data, you might get your own organic perception of everything and undo it all being done to you and stuff, right? And so in the GSF, what we did is we put all this into like a big resolution relative to the audit. So now that we've got the Dreamtime structure and the violation of all that, we just reinitiated a massive audit of all the violators that have ever been a part of this, included in that. And the reason why I'm not going into the GSF sort of stuff, I actually want it to percolate through a bit, but I need to revisit because we clobbered so much, right? There's some stuff I've forgotten already, and it was really poetic because I brought some epic allies together for the first time, and I was sort of setting up to help someone, and it didn't work out that way, but we made the most of it. And with me working out this Dreamtime sort of structure, the way I work in the GSFs is, you imagine like working with a sniper, like there's always a spotter with a sniper. So I'm like the spotter. I work out the pattern and the structure, being very grounded. And then I work with these very multi-dimensional beings that are like the sniper's rifle. They can take out the targets and stuff like that. So I've sort of taken that sort of role of me with my solution-orientated, working everything out in a metaphor that gives the coordinates to these people, because I can tell you guys, there's such amazing people behind the scenes that are smart enough not to be public yet, that are superior to everything. Like I said, the 22D, once I worked out all the mechanics, like we've got superiority and we can see all this stuff that they're doing. So this is why I said the linguistics, spiritual assembly for multiverse resolution. Like, not only can we help restore Earth and our universe, we can actually help assist in the restoration and healing of all the multiverse as well. That's how big we are, okay? So I really hope this sort of helps you see that. And then once you appreciate the Jordan Maxwell perspective, because it's really potent to offer it here, do you see the relationship between the Dreamtime infrastructure setup, all right, of this court system, which is a racket? That's why it's tennis court. It's just all a Dreamtime freaking racket, and it got all busted so poetically, right? So interesting, hey? And I guess this is a first good component of this. Whether I offer a second part, I'm not sure. But I don't want to make it too complex and all that. I think the way I sort of offer my perspectives are a structural sort of data download that you guys will get a reference for, and then you can embody it and integrate it with all the GSF stuff that we did in clearing all the stuff out and all the players. We just bust them, put everyone into we reinitiated the universal audit, like the pure source audit again with all this context. And like I said, if you go back to my February 10th video where I talked all about my journey into sovereignty and employing, say, Andrew Bartz's revocations and stuff like that, employing these linguistics and stuff, I've explored them thoroughly. And the journey for me to get here has all been very valid with all these components, and I've collected a lot of data along the way and violations and stuff. And so, like I said, with doing, like, working out the pure source nature of our universe that we've never known about, the invasion that happened, and at the most vulnerable point, like I've got in the declaration, and then we've never known pure source since, being corrupted by the invaders sort of stuff, then re-establishing the pure source, working with that to be the superiority and getting control back of the universe to clear out the invaders, to then set up for now, and now working on the Dreamtime sort of stuff. There's a very logical process going on and a revealing, and the way I've always said is, like, I work at the multi-D head of the snake sort of stuff, right? So it's just really fascinating how this is all unfolded now, and I've just got to offer it to you as a reference if you're hearing stuff into this stuff and still accept me, because there's been a lot of players out there that have been infiltrators and tried to undermine me and stuff, and I just have to allow it, because to me, like it was the next level of getting critics sort of thing. It was like part of my process and my journey. But what I really want to do is, we did a lot of clearing up, but if you do my sovereignty declaration, just clear out the linguistics of spiritual code equity and put pure source spiritual assembly for multiverse resolution now, because you've probably got aspects of you in the other universes that have suffered relative to these fractures here. And yeah, this is just the next step in the evolution of us restoring Earth and the universe to its pure source authority, right? And a really cool thing is, I know the people around me that have embodied this, we've been putting into all ourselves and really embodying that pure source stuff. And when you can anchor that, and being public, it's a bit more challenging for me in offering all these concepts, going against the grain, like being the tip of the truth spear and stuff, and going against most of the community and that. Not that I'm against them, but it's like their relevance will be revealed, right? And all this stuff and all the violations are not going to be sustainable. So truth and authenticity has always been my ally because it's very efficient on an energetic level and it's very defensive. Like, you leave no gaps. But fraud and falsehood, dread the investigation. Like, I like that Thomas Cooper quote. And maintaining the falsehood is hugely costly, and it requires violation. And violation, you know, it's unsustainable. So as their potency comes down, the invaders, ours is just going to skyrocket and be a parabolic curve. Okay, so I hope this is an awesome teaching, and it expands like the course I've been on to discover and form solutions and stuff. I hope this is very potent for you if you're here, and if you employ what I do, see what happens to you now. It's time to really take control on all levels back and be rid of these invaders and the violators and restore Earth to a original incarnation intent, free of this stuff. And yeah, we'll see where we go. But I just really want to thank you for being here. And if you've been really solid with me for a while, I thank you. And if you haven't, that's all cool. It's all, like I say, and I have offered myself over the last few months, is discern me at the highest level. But, you know, when I offer that, it's like I'm very confident in myself. And I'm inviting you to not eliminate me from the discernment of everyone out there, because we'll see if everyone else can stand up to it, all right? As we take our codes back and all the violations back, we'll see what Emperor has no clothes out there sort of thing, all right? So yeah, we've been working with like structures on the earth and stuff like government and other things, and really initiating the audits on things all the time. Like, you can just initiate an audit for anything that goes on. And yeah, these are all interesting times. So thank you for being such a soul hero to Earth and the rest of the universe, to being here. And I really hope this powers you on to a next level. And a lot of you probably have felt all this, but it just confirms a lot that you knew. And let's see what happens from here. And we'll see where we go, guys. So thanks for being here. And until next time, the Epic Brat from Down Under out.
in December, heading for the city lights. 975, we sharing each other, nearer than farther. Scent of lemon drips from your eyes. We are the people that rule the world, pulsating in every boy and girl, all rejoicing in the world. Take me now, we can drive, we live the adventure.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.